Um, Hi folks. This week's LightMinds webinar relates to the email that I sent out this week about there is no final version of you. Um, so we're going to explore what that really means and why it matters a lot when somebody is on a weight loss journey and how understanding what it means can actually reduce any pressure and actually, by doing so, also increase momentum, the speed that you go at, because it removes interference. So most people enter a health or weight loss program with an unconscious belief that sounds something along the lines of, if I can just fix myself, then I'll finally be okay. Or once I lose the weight, I'll be the finished version of me. The best version of me is something people talk about quite a bit at the moment. But the thing is, humans don't work like that. We're not like updating an app or something like that. Um, there's no point at which you become perfect. There's no point in which you are complete or there's an error-free edition of you. That doesn't exist. And uh, that's brilliant news because um, when you think the belief that I should be this finished product, then that creates pressure. It's what's behind the critical voices you hear in your head. It's behind impatience that you have. It's behind the illusion that you are behind other people. You're not up to the same standards as other people. Um, you're not good enough. It's that constant sense of not being enough. That's what lies behind it. And when this thought falls away, something softer emerges. And in that softness, you actually become more productive because it's a major interference. So in the Light Minds program, we talk a lot about the nature of thought, mindset, and particularly the inside out experience. And within that, there's a core truth. You're not growing because you're broken. You're growing because you're alive. So that's, I said that quite quickly, but it's really fundamental because a lot of people are losing weight or trying to improve their health and well-being because they think they need to be fixed. There's something broken inside themselves and that needs to be changed. When in fact, when you get into great shape, when you improve your health and well-being, you could do it for the sake of doing it because you're alive and you want to have the energy and you want to be in great shape to be able to cope with the challenges that you face, the physical challenges that you face, living day to day. So life is continually unfolding, and that's a part of being alive. Your thinking is continually shifting. You don't think the same things all the time. You might think you do, but you don't. Your perspective deepens. Your habits actually change, they reshape. Um, and your self-talk can soften. You can see things differently and you can respond differently. And it's not because you're forcing these things to happen. You're not because you're making these things happen, because it doesn't work that way. How it works is when you see these for yourself, your system naturally changes. But it doesn't do these things when it's overloaded with pressure, self-judgment, or unrealistic expectations. So when you stop chasing the mythical best version of yourself, you actually transform more quickly because you have far less friction. You have far less interference. We often use a graph to show people at the wellness consultation or evaluation of how weight loss occurs, and then you go into the maintenance phase, and we talk about this, the transformation journey. And it shows a straight line, but weight loss isn't ever a straight line. Um, it's a bit like it's not a project that you need to complete and then you tick off. Uh, it's really not that way. Well, you can take it as that way, but really it's something quite different from that. Um, when you stop trying to see things as this problem that needs fixing, you will actually stop rushing. Um, there's no deadline. That we might kind of set an intention and give you an idea because people like that, but actually there is no that's not a deadline. That's just a kind of made up figure because we're all different. And really the only thing that you have is the next step. So another thing that shifts for you is you stop judging when you go into a dip, you stop judging that as a failure, because growth isn't like that. It's not linear, it's cyclical. It goes up and down. You'll have some success and then you'll go back because there's something else for you to learn. And that's really important to understand. There's another thing to learn, to understand. And you also begin to start noticing the progress that you overlooked before, and the progress in different ways, how you're seeing yourself, how you're seeing what's going on around you, how you see what you're doing. Now, these tiny shifts count because the tiny shifts pile up bit by bit on top of each other. And another element of it, which is quite important, you become more resilient. If there's no finished version of you, then there's also no way for you to be off track. You're simply just living and learning and adjusting as you go. And so you're free to evolve. And one of the most powerful parts of LightMinds is watching people realize this, recognize this for themselves. This is what we as coaches get. When people say, "Oh, there's actually nothing wrong with me. I'm just growing." And when that lands with something, everything gets a lot easier because you don't have the same kind of pressures. Now, the email also suggested something really important, um, and that is to notice where things are softening for you. You see, one of the biggest interferences that we have is this going on in our heads all the time. And when things begin to soften for you, you know that deep change is taking place. So think about some of these things, which you might have noticed, as you've been going on along over the last few weeks or months. You might have noticed where you used to be hard on yourself, but you're not now. Things are changing there. Where things used to be quite dramatic, but now you seem a lot calmer. Where you used to might have spiral out of control, bang, and now you're able to let it go. Um, you might notice where you used to punish yourself, and now you seem to just understand things a bit better, easier for you. See, these are the things, when I mentioned a few moments ago about noticing change. These are some of the things that you'll notice when you just slow down a bit. Because all of these things are signs that you're making real progress. And that's really what you want. It's this is what changes your eating behaviors, your decisions, the relationship you have with yourself. These are the things that change that. And it's not about willpower or discipline or being perfect. It's about softening. And that's really important to understand, but it's not what we're used to. We're used to the critical voice. It's part of our conditioning. We used to be told we're not good enough, we need to be better. And it's quite a familiar story we hear a lot within not just the LightMinds program, but within the nutrition clubs or online, whatever you're doing, marathons, whatever, people say things like, I've tried everything. Why can't I just stick to it? Why can't I do it? I should be much better than I am now. And 3 weeks into the program, nothing dramatic might have changed. There's no miracle discipline that you've discovered that you're suddenly doing stuff. But some subtle things have changed. And this is what we hear from people. They're no longer beating themselves up, when something goes wrong, when they've had an off day or something like that. And when something goes wrong, they don't spiral for 3 days. They gently correct themselves and move on. And because they're softer on themselves, they're actually more consistent. And the shift didn't happen in their food plan, it happened in their thinking. That's the bit people don't get. They often don't understand what's changed. They will say that. I don't know why, but I seem to be doing things different. And it's not because they became a better version of themselves. It's actually because they became a kinder one. And that is what lasts. And this is something you can practice. You can practice the level of softening that you have. Maybe at the end of each day, why don't you just ask yourself, where did I show up softly today? Where did my softness show up today in me? Uh, did I forgive myself sooner? Did I take a breath instead of just reacting, responding immediately? Did I make a small adjustment instead of turning things into a huge drama? Did I find space instead of pressure? And maybe even write them down. If you did that each day, it might be interesting to see what you get at the end of the week, because all of that will be evidence. It'll all be things that reflect the changes that you're making that we often aren't aware of, but they're happening. Um, Now, one element of that is worth touching on. I touch on this every now and again because it seems to come up quite a bit with people, particularly actually people who are outsiders to the nutrition clubs, or maybe Herbalife say, so, why do you weigh yourselves every day in the nutrition clubs, particularly in that part of the model, but they're doing the marathons and things as well. And it's important to remember that we don't believe in perfectionism, but we do encourage daily weigh-ins. And it's not to create pressure. In fact, it's the opposite of that. It's to neutralize it. See, a lot of people, when they come to us, find the scales very difficult. They have a difficult relationship with the scales. They judge themselves very strongly on the scales. And weighing daily can remove the drama from the scales, from the numbers on the scales. And instead, it just becomes data, becomes information. It's not judgment. It's a neutral signal rather than being a verdict of your value or worth. Um, so when the fear of the scales dissolves, which it does if you regularly weigh in, your relationship with the progress you're making becomes clearer, calmer, more sustainable. You accept the ups and downs of the journey because they're going to happen. And so that's one of the reasons. There are several reasons why we do it, but it just makes it easier. So to finish off, just remember, you're not a project. You are a living, evolving human being. And every gentle shift in your thinking is actually evidence of that growth. Although you might not actually see that. That's the thing. You might not be seeing that. And that often happens. So I hope you found that useful. Thanks very much.